Very fine people on both sides. How are you doing? My name is Vincent McFarland. I'm running for City Council 2026, City of Wayne, Michigan. Wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about the Lisa Kubany battery that took place. I was the victim of it on May 20th, 2026. I was the victim of a battery. Basically, I went down to the building and engineering office to speak with one Brandon Braun. He's a ordinance officer for the city of Wayne, Michigan. On 18 May of 2026, just a couple days prior to that, I had noticed that some of my political signs came up missing all of a sudden, right? I put them up over that past weekend, and then Monday the 18th of May, quite a few of them were just vanished, right? Seemingly vanished into thin air. Come to find out, Brandon Braun, the ordinance officer, was going around in a blue Ford Escape, and he was stealing my signs. He was removing my signs from private property and well as public easements, and he was disposing of the signs. He apparently disposed of them the same day, which I found to be highly inappropriate, considering I'm an official candidate and I am on the ballot, and it is an election season. So thought that was a little strange, so I went down to the building and engineering office to inquire about that on the 20th of May 2026, and I was in the back in the parking lot area filming, of course, exercising my First Amendment right, and I had noticed somebody screaming and banging on a door, right? Trying to get my attention, yelling, fuck you. So I approached the door. It was one of the employee entrances, right? The back entrance over by the parking lot. And Lisa Kubany flipped me off through the door window. And as I approached the door and stood outside of the door, filming the inside, through the window, Lisa Kubany loaded up and pushed the door, slammed it into me, hit me in the torso and in the face, and she was not, let me just put it this way, she didn't seem very apologetic about what she had done. She didn't seem to care. There was a deliberate indifference to her attitude and her demeanor. And the police got there, right? Officer Bartus had made a comment that he was going to try to get the camera footage from the cameras in the parking lot. And then later on in an email, the same police officer lied in the email and said that there are no cameras in that parking lot, which is a verified lie. We were able to pull up the footage from the incident, May 20th, and in fact there are two cameras, two little black square cameras facing that parking lot. And so we went down there just the other day, as a matter of fact, to verify that. Yesterday, as a matter of fact. Yesterday evening, we went down to the building and engineering office, and sure enough, those cameras are there. So it looks like another cover-up in the city of Wayne. Bartus is claiming that there are no cameras for that parking lot, which is a verified lie. And of course, we have it all on video, so you don't really need that anyways. But it was interesting. So before that, Finley Carter, earlier that day, I tried to inquire, press for some information about this incident. And Finley Carter, the deputy chief of police, right, the guy who lost his qualified immunity in a Blackwell case and got a promotion, he wrote in an email that the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office was sent the case and the charges, and they declined to pick up charges. Well, I called them, and they said that's bullshit. And so I reiterated that message to Finley Carter, the city manager, among other people. And then he changed the story. Then he said, my mistake, right? It was actually Carrie Miller, the same woman who maliciously prosecuted you last year on May 9th of 2025. That same individual She is the one, as a matter of fact, who reviewed the case and decided to not pick up charges. And of course, I reached out to Kerry Miller to no avail. And it's interesting because there would certainly be a report of some sort justifying or explaining why or how they came to that conclusion, how Kerry Miller came to that conclusion. And then, of course, I asked the most obvious question. I said, well, given the history between me and Kerry Miller, was there any effort made to try to get a special prosecutor? Was there any effort made to try to remedy the obvious conflict of interest it would be for Kerry Miller to have the decision-making authority over that type of prosecution, given the fact of our clearly established history and whatnot, ongoing litigation and whatnot? And the short answer is no. Of course, that would be inappropriate. And the other answer is no. They made no effort, or seemingly made no effort, because they have refused to respond to any of my emails since. So, looks like a cover-up, guys. It looks like a cover-up is going on in Wayne, Michigan. The city of Wayne is covering for Lisa Kubany because she is, she's the marketing director or whatever fake title they give her. But she's some bigwig department head wannabe at the. We got the same email chain where the deputy chief of police has verifiably lied and then changed his story, of course. And his story change actually makes the situation worse, right? Because he lied and said that Wayne County was sent the case. They never were. And then he later says, oh, no, it was Kerry Miller who decided to do that. And then, of course, I reached out to Kerry Miller to try to get clarification. Have yet to get any response back. So that is interesting. And then, of course, the officer who took the report, Bartus, he flat out, verifiably, knowingly lied, right? I mean, we can see two cameras on that building clear as day, on that wall there, right where the door is, and overlooking the exact area that where the crime took place, and just lies and says, in writing that there are no cameras on that side of the building, which is interesting. I thought that was bullshit. Just kind of like my preliminary thoughts on that were kind of just like, yeah, this is bullshit. But then, of course, I took some pictures yesterday and some video confirming that, in fact, there are those two cameras that you clearly see in the video from May 20th, 2026. So that is interesting. That is very interesting that the city of Wayne verifiably, knowingly lied twice in an email. And then, of course, it's interesting to note that Kerry Miller apparently finds it appropriate to, decide whether or not charges are going to be pursued against Lisa Kubany, even though, there's a clear conflict of interest there for sure. So that is wildly inappropriate in and of itself. But when you combine, the lies in the emails, smells like a cover-up, right? Smells like a cover-up. So that's exactly what it is. It is, in fact, a cover-up, and we're going to be pursuing that. We're going to be talking to some different agencies, and of course, we have to get a hold of Springer, right? We got to get a hold of Springer in the Wayne Police Department, because apparently he lied as well on a police report, or Deputy Carter lied, rather. One of them lied and said that they had made contact with the Michigan State Police about the 10th incident, right? The harassing or obscene communications, whatever bullshit ordinance they tried to charge me under for that, and that police report from that incident says that they reached out to the Michigan State Police in regards to trying to get them to pick up the charges or the case or whatever, and they declined. That's what the police report says. But then when you do a FOIA with the Michigan State Police, they claim there is no record of that whatsoever. So that is interesting, how the city of Wayne will seemingly lie on paper with little regard for the truth. It is, it's quite alarming, to say the least. But I thought I would bring it to your guys' attention here first, I do have all the receipts. I do have all the email chains. Everything I say is accurate, entirely accurate. Again, as I said, the evidence clearly shows that there is something just a little funny. We'll say a little funny going on down there at the Wayne Police Department. Openly lying in police reports and covering up for city workers, even though they clear as day, undoubtedly slammed a door. Because I mean, from where I'm, positioned, right, that camera footage, right, clearly you can see that I was struck with the door. I mean, that's abundantly obvious, and of course, I'm a witness to it, as are you guys, and of course there are other camera footage of that incident. But they lied, right? They openly lied and said there are no cameras on that side of the building, even though there are, in fact, cameras on that side of the building. So that will be turned over to the appropriate people for review, because that is really, it's not shocking at all, guys. It's actually, the most predictable thing ever. But it is very brazen, because usually they don't like to lie. They don't like to keep a record on paper of their sort of thought process. But I did find it a little interesting that they did, in fact, write that. So yeah, I thought I would bring it to you guys here first. It is getting rather interesting, the Lisa Kubany assault and battery cover-up. It is getting pretty interesting. So we're going to continue to press for answers. We'll go down to the Wayne Police Department and inquire, of course, see what other stuff they want to say, either on record or in writing. And yeah, we're going to be going to Wayne County. We're going to be going to Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, have a chat, and we're going to be going to some other agencies that oversee some of this shit. And of course we have to go to the Michigan State Police and inquire about that FOIA, because again, making knowingly false statements on a police report, that is perjury. And he talked about contempt of court, so it was interesting too. Judge Plakas wanted to know. He was like, I really want to know why the Michigan State Police didn't pick up the charges on that matter. Well, it seems to me that the reason they didn't pick up the charges is because they lied on the report and they never actually sent it over to the Michigan State Police. I suppose the Michigan State Police could be lying, or they could be mistaken. I guess that is possible, but it's more likely that the city of Wayne is just outright lying and falsifying police reports. Wouldn't be surprised one bit, based on what the city of Wayne has continued to do throughout my time in the city of Wayne. It's been abundantly clear that they don't seem to have any interest in really following the law, and it looks like a lot of times they don't even have interest in plausible deniability that they're even upholding the law. So it is it's rather shocking, not like in the sense that it's surprising for them. We've all become very accustomed to this, but police can be put on the Brady list for lying, can't they? Yeah, but I don't know on a report. I'd have to look into that. But I know of people that can figure that out. I do know of people. So, it is interesting that they are lying on a police report about the Michigan State Police. I'm sure they would like to know about that. And it is interesting that they're lying about cameras being on buildings, right? Which, of course, there would be a public record of those cameras when they were placed and all of that. So, it is interesting. I gotta say, guys, it is rather interesting. Not surprising though, in the least bit at all. Surprising in the least bit. It would actually be surprising if they weren't up to this type of shit, unfortunately, at this point. So, we will see what we can do, and we will give you guys an update, of course, when we can. And yeah, it just gets more and more clown world by the day. Clown world clown. We've come nothing less from these sorry sacks of shit. So it's just par for the course at this point. Yeah, that's sad. That's something that desperately needs to. I mean, it can change, but it takes a collective effort by all of you, and we have to start having about our city and who's making decisions for us on our behalf and of those decisions, because clearly these decisions are rather reckless and impetuous, and I think ultimately these decisions are going to lead to a lot of problems in the city of Wayne, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we have that conducts themselves in this manner openly. That's really what is really shocking to the senses, that is, to see just the blatant cover up happening in front of us, and moving the goalposts, claiming that prosecutors are involved when they're not, and then there are no cameras for that parking lot, even though that's verifiably false. And just common sense would tell you that that's probably not true, right? I mean, I'm not saying like, it wouldn't surprise me any guys, like, I'm but that's just simply not true, though, right? I mean, they definitely, and yeah, I thought it was a little bit weird, for that location. I'm like, yeah, just looked the same day, yesterday. Found out, in fact, that they do, in fact, have cameras. Well, at least, yesterday they did. But then I thought, well, maybe, they just put them up, blah, blah, blah. So then I rewatched the video and of the incident, and sure enough, the cameras were there. So I said, that is interesting. That is very interesting. So, yeah, guys, it is really sad, really sad that we continue to have to deal with this sort of shit. I mean, you would think that we'd be better than this, and we'd be able to certainly be a little more sly about our corruption, but they're just to the point now to where they just do shit out in the open. I mean, openly, and quite say it is rather impressive, I suppose. Not impressive for the right reasons, but it is impressive to watch. It definitely, certainly is impressive to watch. It's oh boy, God help us. God help Wayne. God save our city from these fucking evildoers. But can't expect God to do all the work, guys. We're gonna have to do our part. And where do we begin, right? Where do we begin? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where do we begin?